And we are now live. Let's let everyone kind of seep into the live chat. I hope everyone is doing well. This is the Action Figure Grader, and I've got two special guests tonight. And I think we better do introductions as proper. I'm going to start with our good friend across the pond, Tim, Boss Bounty. How are you doing tonight?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you for inviting me along for this special occasion. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, for those watching, I apologize ahead of time. I have some mic issues, and it sounds like Tim is wearing like one of those old school like scuba diving outfits that's made of metal, and he's talking to me in German through a walkie-talkie whilst, in the Marianas Trench. So that's what it sounds like on my end. So I'm going to pretend I hear what you guys are saying. But thank you for joining, Tim. And Chris W. from Rogue 5 Toys. How are you doing, man?
What's going on? Thank you for having me on. I made sure to wear my T-shirt to represent.
I'm so sorry that you have to wear that.
Where's yours, Tim?
I have one of those now as well. It's gifted to me very kindly by David Grinstaff.
Oh, okay.
He bought one that was one size too big. So I've already worn it. It's in the wash now, and to be honest, the quality's not there. The badge is already coming off and stuff. So
I think that's the one that David was using for his baby's diaper. That's why.
Well, I apologize for the late start here. I was trying to sort out my mic issues. Unfortunately, the mic issues have not been sorted out. So, again, I'm going to be pretending I hear what you guys say for the most part, but it's a pleasure to have you guys on. We got a special unboxing a little bit later on. Hello to everyone who's joining. I'm sorry I'm not just playing catch up here on a lot of the chats here, but thank you guys all for joining. But yeah, we got a special unboxing, right, Chris? Tell us a little bit. Don't give it away yet. We're going to do it maybe halfway through the stream. We're not going to, we're not going to make everybody wait till the very end. But
yeah, it's one of the pieces that I've been wanting for a while. I sent it in April, and it just came back a few days ago. So this one is from AFA. That's as far as I'm going to tell you. This is AFA. It's not from CAS. So it's been sitting in my house for a couple of days, and I've been dying to open this thing.
Left Coast Graphics says let him breathe. So you should take it out of the AFA case. I think that's a good idea.
As soon as the show is over, I'm going to break it back out.
Apparently, I was busy doing my hair, according to Hitchville. I don't have any hair to worry about there. So, well, thank you again, guys, for joining, and we're going to be encouraging Q&A here as we get going. I want to hear first. Let's start off with recent pickups. And Tim, why don't you lead us off? Have you had any kind of recent pickups that you want to talk about? I know you just went to Echo Live, so maybe you can parlay that into what your experience was like there, what the market looks like, things like that.
Yeah, cool. First of all, Echo Live was fun in terms of the people I got to meet. I got to meet some people that are in the chat now, like Phil the Force and Adam Berry. Really cool guys. So, I chatted to those guys for quite a while, actually. In terms of like the vintage Star Wars stuff, I was on the lookout for Bosks, basically, and there wasn't really any. So I can't really comment on what there was for other people. But judging by what my friends picked up, I think it was a bit quieter than it usually was in terms of what was available. I think the high ticket items, they go really quickly, and then what you're left with is a lot of like yellow bubbled Return of the Jedi stuff. There's a lot of that sort of stuff around. So I didn't really pick much up apart from this, which is the
Jesus Christ
signed. Are you all right there, John?
You guys hear me?
Yes,
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
it was like breaking up like crazy.
Right. So I picked a load of these up. One of them is for you, John, as you know. So
amazing item, man.
Yeah, and there's a funny story about this guy, man. He did not want to be there. He was like the coolest cat in the room. He was just sitting there, chilling out, and he just did not want
I'm surrounded by nerds.
And exactly. And I even said to him, like, I said, "Are you all right, mate?" Like that, and he went, "I could think of better things to do on a Saturday." So, I got a bunch of these done. I'm going to be giving a few away to my Patreon supporters and what have you. And one of them's for you, and one of them's I got myself one as well. So cool, Bespin Guard. It's I think his name's Quentin Pierre.
He sounds like a bad guy in a James Bond movie.
Yeah, he looked like one too. But that's about it, really, in terms of, great to see everybody. Loads of stuff to look at. I wasn't really spending much money. And, I think the market is a bit funny at the moment. Although a lot of people are saying that people traded really well there. So what do I know,
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of posts on, like Echo in the Echo group and Jabba's. And it was kind of a mixed bag. It's like, okay, I didn't see much sell. Another guy says, I saw everything selling. I see prices that are down. I don't see any slowdown. I sold 5 mocks this week. So it's hard to gauge.
Yeah, yeah. And I think also, I don't want to sound like, but I think a lot of dealing goes on before people go in, so between the dealers. So a lot of the good stuff might go before you even get a chance.
Yeah,
even
of
if you've
course.
got an early bird ticket.
Yeah.
A lot of the good stuff goes. And that's the perks of having a table there, I guess, so.
One of the last shows that I went to, that's what happened. It's like an hour or two before the show starts. Everyone's walking around, and you're able to kind of pick some stuff up beforehand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that seems to be the case with a lot of them, especially the high end items.
Yeah.
The big boy collectors get there early and start. They're like vultures circling a wounded deer and just looking to pick over the carcass. It's my stuff. I want it. We got 50 people watching. Chris, how about you, man? Have you had? I know we got a big unboxing here from AFA, but have you had any other recent pickups you'd like to speak of? And I know that you sell regularly on Rogue 5 Toys. I'd be curious as to what your thoughts are, generally speaking, about the health of the resale market.
Yeah, as far as pickups, I've been doing mainly upgrades. I'm mainly upgrading like my loose graded figures. So if I see like a higher grade, or if I see one that's like in an archival case and I don't have archival and I can kind of buy it and then sell mine at the same price, that's kind of what I've been trying to do. So as far as like new pickups, I didn't even know that this figure honestly existed until a little while ago. But this is a molded boots Rebel Soldier, which I knew they had, but it's from China. And I only thought they only had like a
Hong Kong.
A Hong Kong one. I didn't know that China had a molded boots version. So when I saw this, I ended up picking it up, and I didn't have it. It's a variant that I needed, so
the famous white gloves.
Yeah, the famous white gloves. So this isn't really the most coolest pickup, but like I said, you guys know me. I collect every variant that there is, and I didn't know that there was a China variant for molded boots.
So. I didn't either, to be honest with you. I would assume it's probably a later Return of the Jedi card back release. A lot of those were China COOs.
Well, you surely played it off as if you knew that there was one. You're like, of course, everyone knows that. But besides for that, I've just been doing some upgrades. If I have like an 80 plus, I'll try and find an 85 and just stuff like that, And then as far as the market definitely seems to be a little bit slower. Not really too much in terms of price. Prices still seem to be at where they are, maybe a little bit lower. The items just don't sell as fast as they used to. There used to be like a feeding frenzy. I used to list something and within minutes it was claimed, and now it might sit for a couple hours instead, which is still fine. It's still more than enough, but I think the hype is definitely down a little bit.
It's got to be to do with like the cost of living and the interest rates.
Correct.
Like friends of mine, a guy at my work, his mortgage has gone up £200 a month, just because the interest rates have gone up. Do you know what I mean? It's he doesn't owe any more money or anything, so just the cost of living, the electricity and the gas and everything. It's got to take an effect, doesn't it? I think because it's like a trickle up thing, isn't it? Like if people aren't buying the sort of low end items off the people, So it's just going to affect the whole market, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't see it as people not buying and collecting. It's kind of like people are just trying to survive right now because the cost of living is up so much in every area. So,
yeah.
One of the things that I've touched on in the past that maybe I don't know if you've seen it, Tim, on your end, but the pound sterling, the British pound is just free falling over the last couple of months. And it's hard to believe this, but we're almost to $1, 1-to-1 ratio where it used to be.
I think it's negative with the PayPal thing.
Right.
Because when it went down to 1.05, you know, that's the exchange rate. That's not the PayPal exchange rate. So, I mean, even before our prime minister started like mouthing off and doing mini budgets and stuff, and like, you know, causing hell with all the markets and stuff, the pound wasn't strong anyway. Because I remember I bought that Bosk off you, Chris, the Tri logo.
Yeah.
And you know, the price sounded great until it converted, and then I was like, Christ.
Well, the next time that actually happens, I'll just hold it for you, and then you can pay me when it goes down or goes back up.
Tim will be like, have his stock charts out, waiting for the, you know, next big bump in the
It's
pound.
going to be a while till it bounces back, I fear, though.
Yeah. So I actually had someone from Australia. He owed me $250. So I don't know the exact number because I forgot, but I think when he had to pay me from Australian to US, he ended up paying $350 or $325 just to get me my $250. So it ended up costing him a lot more than what it normally would have costed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so you know, if you've got people from the UK that buy stuff on your page, Chris, then just purely because of the pound, they're not going to do it at the moment, are they? Because
we do, yeah. A large part of our buyers are from overseas. It really is.
Because when it was like 115 or something, you know, it's almost sometimes better to buy from America if you can, if you know the person and they're prepared to, you know, put on the custom label that it's not worth that much and things like that.
$20.
Yeah. But right now, you know, it's just not worth it buying from America.
Well, that's not good.
Well,
I think Phil the Force there just said it's bounced back a little bit, but I don't think it's going to get back to the levels it was a month ago anytime soon. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't checked it today, but it's got to have an effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, Adam Berry said it's like 1.11 to £1 right now, and that's actually bounced back up a little bit because it got down to like 103 or something crazy. I mean, it was really low.
It was really.
I think
low.
the Bank of England just came out with like a restructuring plan that popped it back up again. Nerd alert on finances is me. I didn't get I haven't really bought anything, as you guys know. I'm trying to not buy, but I did get literally 15 minutes before this live stream started. I received 31 items from Collector Archive Services.
That's it? Only 31? Wow.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm sure I'll do an unboxing, but one of the cool ones is this one that I got from you, Chris. This is a baggy Death Star droid.
Yep.
And this is an ESB A baggy, and that graded 80 plus. Literally fresh out of the box. I've got packing peanuts and, you know, bubble wrap everywhere.
That was one of those secret private deals.
And then here's one that is going to be, I'm going to be only a temporary steward until it goes back to its rightful owner. But this is a 41 back A Lando free survival kit offer. I bought this, I believe, or something from Chris. And then I got it graded. I sent photos to Chris. He's like, no, I want that back. Yeah, I'm going to have that back, please. And so being the better man that I am, I will send this back to you since you've always taken good care of me.
Thank you.
The least I can do is not hog all of these awesome items. This one graded 80, 80, 80, 90 were the subscores.
Nice.
Beautiful, unpunched, no price stickers.
That's
41 back A.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
That one was a jag. I got a bunch of vintage collection in. I got some Power of the Force 2 prototypes. I even got one Black Series. What's wrong with me? Just an absolute ton of stuff. I haven't even had a chance to go through it yet, but I haven't really bought anything else other than a couple of PSA trading cards. That's really been it.
Well, besides for action figures, comics, grading cards, we're all on the edge of our seats wondering what's going to be next.
I said, guys, talking about turnaround times briefly, though, most of this stuff was 9 months. It's between 9 and 7 months for these items. I sent in 11 trading cards to PSA. They received them on September 27th. They're going to be shipping them either today or tomorrow. And that was for 90-day turnaround times. And it's what, August or October 7th? So it took them like less than 2 weeks to grade everything. It's in final quality control now. I mean, you saw my CGC batch of Mandalorian comics that took door to door 12 days.
Yeah.
So the action figure side of grading is a complete and total disaster right now, both AFA and CAS. And when is it going to happen?
I think we're definitely going to see a slowdown in submissions. I know that I've been, especially if the economy is not doing as good and people just not wanting to wait 9-10 months anymore. It's like, who wants to spend your money and then wait 10 months to get something back? I know I don't.
Didn't CAS announce that some changes or something? Or did I miss you talking about that? I thought they put a press release out saying that they've done some kind of restructuring or extra staff or something. Is that not right?
Is this Collector Archive you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all know that Collector Archive Services is known for their incredible custom work. They do a lot of beautiful customs, and what they're known best for, they're going to stop doing. So
right.
There you go. They're putting a pause on any kind of customs for at least through 2023. Chris, do you have any thoughts there since you've used CAS in the past?
I like you said, I think the customs is what sets them apart. I think they probably should have done this last year and not this year, because I think submissions will be slowing down going into the future with the economy the way that it is. So if they would have done this last year, their turnaround times probably wouldn't be as bad as it is right now. So instead of cutting out the customs, they would actually be welcoming the customs back in, because they should have been caught up. So, I use CAS for a lot of customs. That's why I like to use them. So now that they're not,
it's disincentivizing. Put it that way.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I got 31 items back from CAS, and all I'll say is that it should have been 32. One of them was damaged during the grading process by CAS.
I saw that. Yeah.
That is that's an interesting, just little tidbit I wanted to share with the community who might be considering who they use for their grading companies. But yeah, one of mine got ruined by the graders, and they paid me out. I want to be upfront and say that they compensated me appropriately for what the insured value was. But the
thing is, what the worrying thing, John, is that, and I apologize to anyone that's watching if I'm shouting, but I'm having to shout so John can hear me. The worrying thing is that item that got damaged was just, let's face it, a modern cheap item, right? Imagine if they damaged something of real value, I mean, obviously they would pay out because you've got it insured or whatever, but it's just, that one item might be a really hard to find item that you've waited years to get or something,
Yeah. I mean, I think from my perspective, whether it's a $50 vintage collection item, which this was, or if it's a $5,000 12 back, my expectation and requirement for anybody that's grading my items should be handling those items with the appropriate care from their paying customers. And the fact that my item was not handled appropriately, the CAS right now has lost my trust. They're going to have to earn it back. That's the bottom line for me. Now, will I send them kind of TVC garbage, not TVC garbage. Sorry, Tim, but like modern stuff that's $20 to get, in case, like some of these vintage collection figures I've got, yes, but am I going to be sending them a vintage Kenner item? I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. They have to earn back my trust.
I'm not going to send you that anymore. It's garbage.
I happen to agree with you also on that. Between their customs and their Kelly, the woman who works there, she is amazing at answering every call. So now that the fact that they're cutting out their customs, which is what I like, it's going to take a big hit, at least for me. So going forward for loose graded and mocks, I'm going to be going to AFA. I just have to. Yeah.
Phil the Force says, I have lots of high value stuff at CAS. I do too. I've got lots of high value stuff there right now.
So do I.
But my only, Phil, I think the only thing I would encourage you to do is when the photos come, before they ship it back to you, when the photos show up in your submission box, look over those photos carefully, because quite frankly, the items that I identified as having label typos, which there were 5, and the item that was damaged by them, which was another item, That's 6 items out of a total of 32. They would have been shipped back to me as is if I had not said something to them. So their quality control has a lot to be desired right now. And I had to be the one to catch their errors. I had to be the one to catch the fact that they broke one of my items. And that's all I'll say about that. I just think that you need to be really cautious when you look at the photos and call them out. I called them out. I said, look, I talked to the owners and I said, not good enough. Sorry, not good enough. And that's kind of how I feel about it. So
thankfully, though, with them, their customer service, as I said before, is actually great. So when you
I agree.
Whenever you do have a problem and you write them, they actually respond to you right back. Whereas AFA, it takes like 2 weeks to get a notice back. It's crazy.
No, I agree. I mean, I sent them the items that I had problems with. I had either the labels fixed or I was appropriately compensated for the damaged item within a day.
That's good.
It's still the fact that I had to be the one to initiate this. Their quality control should be the ones catching that. So anyway, I think that's enough negativity right now. Let's dig in to see what these guys have to say. You guys can certainly ask questions, and I'll try to post them as I see fit. Yeah, Joe's right. I wasn't meaning like all TVC's garbage. I just meant that I'm not trusting collector archive services with, I've got 3 or 4 vintage Kenner mint on cards there right now. You're going to have to earn back my trust. I'm going to have to see quality improvement before I send them anything else that's high value.
John is just in a really bad mood right now because he can't hear.
This has been the worst day. The worst day.
Yeah.
My tenant woke me up at 3:00 in the morning. My brand new condo that was literally built brand new 2 years ago, the whole thing is flooded. The whole thing, because of something that's not my fault. So it's been going on since 3 a.m. So, it is what it is. See, little Pookie, he's saying turn down the gain on your mic. Well, I'll try and do some adjustments here. Let's see. You guys talk. Somebody talk.
You're just don't adjust it. You'll break it, man.
I'm going to adjust.
Make it worse. Oh dear.
Yeah, John's basically he's basically screaming on our end, but then he can't hear a word from whatever we actually say.
Well, I think we're about 20 minutes in, Chris. Why don't we do the big drum roll here? And I think this is what people are here to see. They're not listening. They're not here to listen to me bitch. But I'd love for you to kind of take over, give us a little backstory of where you bought it and all that kind of stuff, and go from there.
Okay, so
sorry, John, can you put him on big screen? Let's do it.
Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. Solo layout. Let's try that. There we go. Good.
Get rid of the comment as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, little Pookie.
There you
go. Here we go.
So this was one of the pieces that I have been looking for a while. Finding them, especially in good condition, is always hard because it's a Spanish figure, and Spanish figures are just known to not really hold up over the test of time. So I found this on one of the groups. I want to say it was in April, and at the time it was definitely the going rate or a really good price, at least for the condition that it looked in. So I had a nice bidding war against Tim. No, I actually didn't. Tim wanted it, but at the time he wasn't going for it. So I made sure he wasn't going for it. So I put out my best offer, and they accepted. It came in, and then I sent it straight over to AFA to get graded. It came in last week, and I know that we've been wanting to do this unboxing, so it has been sitting in the box at my house for the last week. And unlike CAS, where CAS, when you get an item graded, you actually know what the item graded before you get it, so you know the grade. With AFA, you don't know what the item got graded. So it's been sitting in this box at my house for the last week. As you can see, I have not opened it. Literally have not touched this thing. And I've just been waiting to do this show to find out, because I think I'm actually more excited than anyone else here. So I'm going to open it now, and then once we open it, if one of you two, who are way more smarter than me, we can go into more detail about the actual item and, how many are in its existence and stuff like that. So.
Here we go.
This is really compelling television.
Yeah, exactly. especially when you're looking at my big head on the screen the whole time. Okay, a lot of packing peanuts.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. I got a piece of cardboard. That's what came in, cardboard. This is, I'm assuming, the
Incredible.
The COA. I won't open that now.
Oh, this is COA. I see.
Yep. Okay. There we go. I got it. This is it right
Wow.
here.
Wow,
It looks very Transdotion.
You got some bubble wrap graded.
That's
Amazing.
the. So this took 8 months to get bubble wrap graded. So let me see. And again, I don't know what the grade is. I predicted that this would grade a 75 going into this, so that's what I'm thinking it got. If I know anything about grading, I'm thinking a 75. So I'm really hoping that it got a good grade because it's a high value figure. Wow, that's very nice. So
Boom.
this is a Toxic Limbs Bosk, and it got graded a 75 plus.
Oh, wow.
Plus.
So I am very, very happy about that. Like I said, I was hoping for a 75. So to get a 75 plus.
Hold it up a little bit closer to the camera, Chris, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So people can see that.
I just don't want to get the glare out. So that's the Toxic Limbs. I don't know if you can see his limbs.
Yeah.
And I got it in the archival case. I'm going to take it out of the case, actually, because I think the poly bag is killing the mojo right now. So
Now, while he's doing that, Tim, I want to hear maybe a little bit of backstory because I know you own one of these. I feel like you were talking about. Let's go back to Chris just really quickly here so we can take a look at it. There you go. Look at those beautiful bright green limbs.
So
Amazing.
he really is in actually like really good condition.
Oh man, it's
Unbelievable.
So good. He's unbelievable. That's an unbelievable.
That
So-
is a
Probably got
beauty.
one of the best ones going there, I think, Chris.
Now, I'm going to take it back to all three of us. Oops, wrong button. I am going to take it back to all three. Now, Tim, I feel like you were reading a thread on Facebook about what's the rarest licensed Star Wars figure that's out there, and tell us a little bit about that thread and kind of your thoughts on the figure.
Yeah, so I think it was just I think it was like a newbie to one of the groups, and they said, what is the rarest licensed figure, basically, and a lot of people were saying it's the Toxic Limbs Bosk. Few people said Vlix and what have you, and
Yeah, Blix, I think, is probably my answer.
Yeah. What's that? Just the Glass Lighty or Glass Light, wasn't it? The Brazilian card, was it?
Yeah, so for those that don't know who Blix is, it was a very rare. It was either, produced in such small numbers. There's less than maybe a handful of those that still exist. A few mint on card, a few that are loose. But,
and they weren't made good because the heads fall off on them constantly. So when you do find them, the head is usually glued on for half of them.
Yeah, Glass Light.
Yeah. So are we? But apart from that, do we think that maybe the Toxic Limbs Bosk being a POC, early Spanish, especially like in any sort of condition, they're hen's teeth, aren't they? They're, how many do you think there are? Like 20 or something? 25?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the last number I heard from some of the Spanish experts out there, like Javier Ruiz Lopez and Sergio. Didn't you buy yours from Sergio, Chris?
I got mine from Sergio. Yes.
Yeah.
So
didn't he send it to you in like a baggie?
Yeah. So
No.
yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
I gotta tell you, this seems to be a running thing when you're buying from overseas, and I always forget to say it, but I always forget to say, put it in a box, and I like shouldn't have to say that, but there's been numerous figures when I buy something from Spain or Mexico, they put it in like a baggie mailer. So
It's crazy.
here's a $4,400 item, and the figure is just bouncing around on the inside with his weapon smacking against him.
It happened to me. It happened to me with the Spanish PvP Forlom, the Red Armor Forlom. I paid this guy a lot of money for it, and he sends it in a little baggie, and it didn't have any bubble wrap or anything. It was just in a baggie.
Yeah, no, he
And
he had it wrapped in bubble wrap and stuff like that, but still to be in a baggie for a $4,400 item, what happens if they put that through like one of those rolling machines?
I know that was what I was saying. I mean, that 4-line was like $400 or $500. It was like around $400. And
think
the
he
fact
did
that
the
it made
same-
it to me in one piece is incredible.
Yeah,
So-
I think he did the same for me. I bought the fat lips off of that guy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, and that was, I mean, it's what, 300 or whatever. But that arrived in a mailer as well.
A mailer too, yeah. So
Now, Tim, do you have your toxic Bosk with you?
Yeah, and I was just, something quite interesting about it actually that I've noticed, and I've noticed that UKG have the weapon that way. Yours is facing up. I know it's just
Mine's facing down or up as well.
Yours is facing up. Yours is Chris.
yeah.
Can we get off? This is going to be the only time for those of you guys watching right now. You'll never see 3 of these on screen at the exact same time. There's less than probably 25 of these in existence. So this is just kind of one of those moments in YouTube history that no one is going to care about whatsoever. But I do think it's pretty incredible.
A unicorn moment.
So yeah, this is a unicorn moment right here. I mean, we got 3 of them. I'm bringing up the rear with my AFA 60. Tim's, you got a UKG 75, right?
Yeah, which isn't bad. I think mine's got like a factory error on the back, which is like almost like melted
Melt
his
marks.
back.
Yeah.
And obviously that's gonna, I would imagine, take the grade down. The paint on his limbs is actually really, really good. He's got the classic sort of I don't want to say mold, but like, you know, those black sort of spots.
It has the spots on
the
it.
limbs.
Yeah.
He has a few of those.
He
But I was happy with a 75. I mean, I think when we were talking about it, John, that I thought it'd get a 70. And UKG, some people think they're a bit generous with their grades or whatever, so I'm happy with a 75.
Let me ask you a question.
I think the reason mine got only a 60 is there's a lot of wear on the toes on mine. You can kind of see that in the light there. Hopefully that's coming through. And then Chris, you got the 75 plus. Now I know that Jeff Jacob, he has an 80 plus. I believe that's the highest graded one.
Yeah, so that was going to be my question was I heard the highest graded one in existence or known is an 80 plus from AFA, and I wasn't sure if that was true or not, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure that 80 plus is as high as I've ever heard of in terms of graded. But
and if anyone's going to own that, it's going to be Jeff Jacobs, isn't it? So.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, the gentleman I bought this from, Matt D, he at one point had 4 of them, all AFA graded, and
Wow.
I think he's only got 1 now. Yeah, he had 4 at one, 4 of like the 25 in existence.
My God.
He was hogging them all. But
the thing is, though, John, like even though yours is a lower grade, it's got a story behind it, though, isn't it? Because it's the one in the book. So
yeah. So for those that maybe are new to the channel, yeah, this one was actually used in the book by Javier Lopez about. I totally mangled his name, by the way. This was made in the book. I should have brought it out, but basically the history of the Spanish figures. It's kind of considered the Holy Bible for a Spanish guidebook.
PDPs.
And yeah, this one was the photo sample used in the book, and it was denoted as such on the statement of archival or whatever.
So to have a photo sample and still be graded a 60, I think is actually very good because that means it was handled a lot. It was used a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting because the photo in the book, I should just pull it out if y'all bear with me. The photo in the book was interesting because they touched it up. And the author, Javier Ruiz Lopez, he did say that, yeah, we touched up that photo because at the time that was the best example I had. So,
Okay.
So he, if you look at the photo, it doesn't look anything like my figure because, it doesn't really show the paint wear that much on the toes. But it is cool to have, it's authenticated again by by AFA as being this photo sample. You can kind of see right here, right there, the toe and how it's a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
But it's very clearly been touched up relative to mine. But yeah, it's very cool to have the one that's in the book. And for those again who are new, but this is the book called Made in Spain Comprehensive Catalog by Javier Ruiz Lopez.
Awesome.
And he's got a second. I think he's got a second and a third edition.
There's a second. Yeah. You should have him. You should have him actually rewrite the book and put a picture of your face right next to it, like this. Having it now as the new owner.
John, there's a question in the chat from Joe Schmo. Yeah, I think that's one for Chris.
So why is the demand for loose graded figures more common and more expensive than a beat up sealed carded figure? No one has ever touched the carded figure before. Yeah, this is a good question for you, Chris, because I know that you deal with a lot of beater mint on cards on your sales page versus near mint examples, things like that. Go ahead.
I would say that usually does exist for like last 17. Always like the last 17 on a Power of the Force cards, for whatever reason, a loose graded or even loose is the same price as a mock, if not more. But yeah, you can find a beat up Admiral Akbar mock, right? Because no one wants it. No one wants to display this beat up, mangled card with the blister falling off. But then if you send it in, it gets graded an 85. Now it's worth 130 to 150 probably. So it's just the way it works out. You have a mint, figure that is now preserved, whether people like the grading or not. It just presents better than a beat up mock that no one wants, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that the biggest negative of loose grading and maybe a big detractor from those that hate grading, period, is the fact that it almost, because of what loose graded prices have done, it almost incentivizes some people who don't want to put in the legwork to find a loose,
correct,
out of the package mint figure.
Yeah,
they'll just buy a beater card for $50, beater Return of the Jedi card for $50, take it off the card and send it in. And I think that's where a lot of the collecting community maybe gets angry. Maybe just doesn't like grading because of that aspect, is the flipping aspect, the money aspect. I mean, Tim, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think also you just can't guarantee necessarily that the figure inside in a mock is mint, because obviously they, in the factories, they're in big bins before they get put in. They're going to scrape against each other and all that kind of stuff. So I'm guessing for people that collect loose, back in the day when maybe people took the cards off bubbles and what have you, there's no guarantee that that figure in that bubble is going to be as good as one that's been out of the package for however long and just sat on someone's shelf, or the paint apps might be off or something, so.
And remember, you only see the front of the figure. You can't see the back of the figure. So a lot of the times, the back of the figure, it's rubbing on that cardboard for the last 40 years, and it actually leaves marks on the figure a lot of the times when you do find it, or in the back of the elbow. Like that elbow spot right there is a very common spot on a lot of figures.
Yeah,
that's a really good point, especially if they don't have that inner tray to kind of hold them in place. But yeah, I mean, along those lines, I mean, Simon asked, what's your feeling about opening a beat up mock? I mean, all of the Facebook groups, it's an automatic ban. If they can prove it that you've been opening up mocks versus putting in the legwork to find a loose mint figure, and there are people that still do it, I'm sure. But there's a lot of groups where they have admins that are devoted to like tracking the different defects on a card, and then if they see the card for sale separately from, and they could go back and look on the history of sales on their website and see that it's the same card, but now it's been taken, the figure's been taken out, automatic ban, and it does happen. So I would encourage people to not do that. I mean, I think that there's such a, Chris, we've talked about this, Tim, we've talked about this. There's such a large, there's millions of these things out there, and for the most part, other than maybe our trifecta of awesomeness here, there's plenty of those figures out there. That you can buy.
You don't need to open up a mock to get a nice figure. There's millions of them out there. You just have to, like you said, do the legwork and look for a nice one. And that's always a problem in most groups, is that people don't know what to look for on each figure. So when they are selling, let's just say like a certain common figure, everyone will assume that a TIE Fighter pilot, let's just say a TIE Fighter pilot is $30. Everyone will automatically sell a TIE Fighter pilot for $30. But that's not depending on what the actual condition of the figure is. Because if it has no emblems and no emblems on the helmet, it shouldn't be $30. It should be like $20. But people just automatically think that one figure is one price, and that's actually not how it works. Everything is condition based on price, or price based on condition. So finding mint figures loose it's getting tougher. It is.
And that's why there's a market for, picking up a collection, grading the best figures, and then selling them
Correct.
You know, if they get a high grade, because you're doing the legwork, you're waiting 9 months for for them to come back and things like that. So you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Hitchfield. Did you ever find real estate for that bloody Gentle Giant Bosk I sent from Jason?
Yeah, man. Look, it's on the back of my door. There it is.
Oh yeah, there it is. That's pretty awesome. That's a nice gift.
Yeah.
Hitchfield,
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
He's a great dude. Great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Tim, you basically only collect Bosk stuff now, or?
Well, I've got my loose run.
Okay.
And then I don't know. I've got maybe 10 or 15 mocks left. But I'm gonna slowly move them on and just pick up Bosks when I can find them. That's what I've decided to do basically, and it's more of a space issue really, because I started to collect the alternate image cards to start with, and then Boba Fett just went up ridiculous price. Gunner Luke went up ridiculous price, and I thought, well, I can't do that focus anymore. I'm not going to spend $2,500 on a Gunner Luke that's more than likely got a really badly yellowed bubble anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So so I've got Vader, Chewie, and Leia alternate cards. They've got the Yoda, but they're all gonna go because I want to try and get the run. And I just want to bring up about loose graded. So there's a video on YouTube. I think it's on the Justice Curry. I think his name's Justice Curry. And he has a guy called Dan who's a Bosk focus collector.
Yeah.
You know the guy?
I've seen it before. Yep.
Yeah, he's got a short surname, but I can't remember his surname. But he goes for all of it. He's got like a 31 back. He's got all of them. You know, he's got proof cards, all that kind of stuff. And then he had this lone graded figure in the middle, and there's like a 75. And I thought, why have you got that? And it turns out it's the Kim Simmons figure from the back of the card backs, because it's still got the beeswax.
The beeswax on his feet.
And the feet. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of loose graded uncirculated 70s and 75s, and it's because of that issue, right? People are sending in what they think is a mint figure, then nope, sorry.
And honestly, and stuff is still out there because there was the show this past weekend. So when Echo had their show, there was a show in Cincinnati. So they had the Cincinnati
Toy Show.
Yeah, there was a guy loose grading a double telescoping Vader that he found at a garage sale. He bought it for $10. So,
Crazy.
like I said, this stuff still exists. It is still out there. Yes, it's harder and harder to find, but he spent $10 on a double telescoping Darth Vader, and he was getting it loose graded by CAS, and that's amazing. Good for him.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, I want to. We got Tim on. And when I think of Tim, I think of him being the godfather, one of the few godfathers of the vintage collection line. And we just had the Hasbro PulseCon, and there were some reveals there. I think a lot of the folks who are watching this don't particularly care about me at all. They probably came to see you, and so I think it makes sense to maybe get your thoughts on the reveals for the vintage collection, where you think the vintage collection kind of state of the union type thing is. Just general thoughts.
I thought this particular live stream was a bit poor in terms of what was revealed. I do know of some of the things that are due to come out early next year, and I'm hoping that they reveal them soon, because some of those items are a lot cooler than the things that they've revealed. My biggest problem is, and I said this on the Q&A that I did with Hasbro the other day, where they probably won't ask me back, to be honest, because me and Chris from Bantha Skull were in fighting mood. But they revealed 2 Andor figures when the Black Series has got 10. And what are you supposed to do with those? Just 2, by themselves. Like, it's supposed to be the world building line. People open them, they create dioramas, all that kind of stuff. And you can't do that with 2 Andor figures, man. So I don't know. There's some cool stuff to come next year. There's Return of the Jedi 40th. We're going to get some good stuff. There's going to be, there's going to be some repacks. There always is, but there is some new stuff as well. But I think on the whole, the vintage collection gets around 10, 11 or 12 newly tooled, completely from the ground up figures a year, and the Black Series gets a lot more than that, and that's where the problem is, really, because we just want parity. We don't want anything taken away from the Black Series, because I'm not going to sort of have a go at people that, you know, disagree with people that collect that stuff, but I just want a bit of evening up, you know? Yeah.
Well, I got a question. You know, speaking of the reissues, like Weequay and Klaatu, I can't even remember who else was announced as upcoming reissues. I think that they're great for folks who maybe don't have the money to spend $150 or $200 on the original Weequay. But do you think that it's? I mean, Hasbro doesn't care, right? Hasbro is in the business to make money, so I get that. Yeah. But for collectors, does it maybe turn people off a little bit? The fact that if they just dropped, so let's say a month ago, you happen to be the guy on eBay that I covered in one of my videos, you drop $150 on a near mint plus TVC 1.0 Weequay. How does that make you feel moving forward with the collection?
I don't feel sorry for the people that bought it when it first came out for $10, and now they're sitting on something that's worth $100, and then they're complaining that their you know, the value's dropped out. I care about the people that have come into the hobby late and they buy it for $100 thinking they're never going to be able to get it again. So I hope and pray that those people that did that bought an unpunched version, because they don't do that anymore. They factory punch everything. So yeah, it is a bit funny. But there is people out there that still want TVC 1.0. I personally think what they should do is they should have it as, like, what numbers Weequay 102 or something, I don't know. They should have it VC 102A or something like that, like something to differentiate it to show, even though it's got a different back already, get the number different, you know, and then, you know, you can still say that you've got VC 100 Star Killer or whatever, you know.
Speaking of Star Killer, you know, we brought Star Killer. I love Star Killer, by the way. I think that there's been a lot of rumblings that maybe he might be appearing maybe in some Disney Plus content. There's rumors that Christian Bale might play him. I've heard other rumors. I can't remember who it is now, but some other actors to potentially play him. I mean, Sam Witwer is a very logical choice. But and correct me, I didn't get to see the whole thing. They did announce that they're going to be reissuing Star Killer, correct?
Yeah, and I think he'll be in Wave 1 next year. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, that'd be awesome if they put him on a Force Unleashed card, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing, because they've started to do that, haven't they? So why not, you know? Why not change the card back? Even if they keep the number, change the card back. They did it with the 501st Clone Trooper, so do that again. Same figure, different card back.
Yeah, and that to me makes the most sense, too. Only one Kenobi's joining us. Speaking of Godfathers of TVC, we've got two of them here. We just need Miko in here, and then we'd be all set. What were we going to say, Tim? I'm sorry.
I can't remember.
Tim is still talking about Weequay.
I was just about to say something about Weequay, yeah, about, you know, yeah, I can't remember. I was just reading the only one's comment. What does he say? Instead of 102A, because they're date stamped anyway, use an alternative. That's what I was going to say. I think with the 501st, they can use an alternate image really easily, because the Kenner card didn't exist. But when it comes to Weequay, if you haven't got a Weequay, the people are going to want it on that Kenner original card, aren't they? That's the problem. So the 96, you know, they changed up the Imperial Guard and things like that. So maybe they can change them. Maybe they can, but yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to keep everybody happy, isn't it? Basically,
it's hard. I mean, you know, I'm first to admit that the toy community does its best to, no matter what Hasbro does, we're going to complain about it. I mean, that's just the way it is. I've kind of left. If you haven't noticed on my channel, I've left them alone. I'm kind of hands off, because I'm starting to see that there's no winning for them, and I don't envy their position, because it's very difficult to kind of appease as many as you can. So.
Yeah, especially when you've got, you know, half the community wanting the Black Series, half the community wanting Vintage Collection, and apparently it shares a budget. So, you know, you're always going to get, you know, the Black on the Q&A, the Black Series guy, he thinks that the Vintage Collection has more new tooling and new, you know, he was going on about Lobot and the Bespin guards, but they're not new figures. They are used, they're repaints, they're retooled. You know, we're
Yeah.
talking about new from the ground up figures. The Black Series definitely gets more. Definitely, 100%.
Yep. Well, Chris, I think we've talked about. Let's swing it back to you now. I want to kind of get your sense of, while we have you, you're much more plugged into what people are buying right now, at least when it comes to vintage Kenner stuff. And I'd just be curious to know whether you view this as the beginning of I think a softening in the market, because I've had many videos where I've said, hey, wait till September, October, November, December. This is when folks' savings are going to start really taking a hit because of all the increased inflation and stuff. Are you starting to see any cracks at all? I mean, I know we kind of touched on it the beginning, but to me, it just seems like, based on the data I see on eBay for common items, the prices are coming down. I mean, an AFA 85 Obi-Wan loose graded, you always said 450, sells for 450 all the time.
All day.
I mean, I just documented one that sold for 240.
I know. So I remember you were saying during the summertime that you started to see, prices starting to drop, and I kept on saying, no, just wait till the fall, wait till the winter, wait until, summer is over and people are back at home and it's cold outside and they're not, they're not going out as much. You'll see it pick up, and it's still slowing down, actually. So I would say the more common figures, you don't see a lot of the army building anymore. A lot of people buying like the Stormtroopers and the Yodas and every single variant possible. People would army build hundreds of these figures and just keep buying them. That has certainly slowed down. Loose figures that are not in good condition has slowed down. It's starting at the bottom and it's working its way up. I still think the high graded items, the harder to find items, the rarer items, I still think those are holding its value right now. But definitely some of the other stuff is sitting. And I don't think it's because people have lost interest. I don't think it's because people have stopped collecting. Has that happened? Of course it's happened. People started during the pandemic, and now the pandemic is quote unquote over. So people are not really into it as much. But I think people are just slowing down because of the economy. They don't have the money to be spending on it right now when they have to feed their families and put gas in their car and put oil in their homes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's starting at the bottom. It's slowly working its way up. I do think that it kind of needs to have a reset anyway, because it's kind of gone up so much in the last 3 years as it is. So, I actually went back. I keep a log of every single thing that I buy, and I always jog it down. And I recently just got a new book. So I was writing all of my old prices into the new book to keep up to date. And I was looking at the prices that I paid for some of these things 5-6 years ago compared to what they are now. And I'm just like, wow, Mike, these things have really gone up a lot in the last couple of years. So I think it's perfectly fine if the market does do a reset. Is Star Wars dead? No. Is Star Wars going to die? No. It's never going to die. It's been around for 40 years. And if you look at the trajectory, it's slowly gone up always. I think it needs to just reset, and then it'll kind of slowly work its way back up again. But prices definitely will come down on certain items. As I said earlier, the whole frenzy is definitely over. You used to list an item and people would be like, oh my God, like I haven't seen one of these in 12 hours. I got to buy it. And now, and now it's like, it's not like that for like a vinyl Cape Jawa and a blue snaggletooth. You used to put one up and people were going nuts over these things as if they're the most rarest things. These things get listed multiple times per week. So when you were doing it, it was like, oh my God, I got to buy these things. I'm going to spend $4,000. Like, you don't need to spend $4,000 on a vinyl Cape Jawa. You just
Hey, I got to really quickly say thank you to Chris Curran. He just did a super chat of $10. Chris, that is so nice of you, man. I really appreciate that. He says, I'm late to the stream, but as far as reissued figures, I look at first release figures as first edition printing of a best-selling book and would prefer the first edition. And that's a good way to look at it. That's kind of basically what you said, Tim, right? Is that
I think
there's a subset of us who want that first issue of Ahsoka, right?
I think there's a lot of people that are like that. But I think you also, when a reissue comes out, you take a lot of people out of the market that just go, well, I'm happy with the other one,
Yeah. Yeah, it all depends on your budget.
I'm going to cash in on my 1.0 and just happy to have the 2.0. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what Chris did to me.
Affects the price.
That's basically what Chris did to me. Like he had this beautiful CAS 90 Ahsoka. He's like, how can I cash this in now before she gets reissued? Why don't I trade with Action Figure Greater? I'll pick up one of the rarest items in his collection, which is an overstock unsonic welded prune face, and I'll basically steal it from him, and he did. Yeah, so it was a really good move by him.
See, stuff like that is what makes me not want to collect the TVC, because Ahsoka was, she was going for so much, and then all of a sudden they do a reissue, and then she drops down to nothing, and it didn't affect me.
She's still expensive, man. She's still like $350, $450 now, but it's not like $1,800.
It was like $1,800, but like I feel bad for the people, like kind of like you, who I made a trade with or sold something to, and it's not worth that.
Let's be up front there. You stole it from me.
I stole it from you. So
hey, real quick, Chris Kern also says, did you see that very white tie bomber diecast on eBay? Yes, I did, Chris, and no, I'm not bidding on it. It's like up to $600 or $700 already, but it is like flawless. Oh my God, it was like drool inducing. Oh, it's so nice.
And they're never white either.
I would love to have that. I've got a question for Chris, if you don't mind, John.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So what do you think about the notion that we are the only people that are really interested in this stuff, and as we get older, there's a certain amount of new collectors and stuff like that, and then there's going to always be the people that like want the really big ticket items like your rocket firing Boba Fett's and all that kind of stuff. But your yellow bubbled Weequay in 20 years time, whenever all of us are old and we don't care anymore, or we're dead. I know it's a bit of a depressing thought. But if you look at something like Elvis, for example, a lot of the people that were well into Elvis memorabilia aren't around anymore, and the prices for Elvis stuff, I think people always use Elvis as like a comparison, and the prices for Elvis stuff just dive bombed because there's not as many people interested in it anymore. So, what's your take on that? Say 25 years from now.
So, if I'm comparing Star Wars to Elvis.
What has this channel come to? Why are we comparing Elvis to Star Wars? Go ahead.
Well, it's just memorabilia, it's like anything.
To me, Elvis hasn't been relevant in 40 years. So, he's not really putting out new music. There's not new content. Whereas Star Wars, there's still new movies. There's still new shows.
But you've got people that like grew up with the prequels. That they say the prequels is their thing.
Yes,
that's what they grew up with. So. Yep. This, all of the vintage stuff is the original trilogy. Is there an element of like people sort of?
I know
sort of amount of people that are buyers.
So my dad is really big into buying baseball cards. He's been a baseball card collector his whole life, and he does the 50s and the 60s and stuff like that. But I know guys who are my age who collect baseball cards also, and they're collecting the 1950s and the 60s and the 70s. So when I see other hobbies like baseball cards and comic books, people are all collecting the older comic books, whatever, I don't even know whatever else there is. Even like G.I. Joe, I still know 20-year-olds right now that are buying G.I. Joes, the old vintage stuff. So it does give me hope for Star Wars that it still will be around and be relevant, So I'm going to say Star Wars is alive and it's never dying.
It's just the collection groups that I hang around in. It often gets like mentioned, like, when
every day,
when maybe just to sell something because, when will it suddenly just like have nobody that wants it anymore? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I look at Chris, and he's young and healthy and vibrant. He's a lot younger than me. I'm a nervous, like hyperactive rodent. So my heart's going to give out at some point, right? I drink too much coffee, and thank God I gave I swear that this is true. I gave my wife Chris's number. I said, if I die tomorrow, call Chris. He'll take care of all this crap that's in here. Okay, he'll figure it out.
Now, obviously, I don't want anything to ever happen to John at all, but
sure.
I've had visions in my head of driving to down to his home state with a U-Haul, which is about 14 hours away, and just loading up all that amazing stuff. So
It'll happen at some point. Probably sooner rather than later, quite honestly, the way I feel. Okay, we got some other questions here. I'm sorry, guys. I've been ignoring the questions. Let's see what we got here. All right. Mark Chaplin. Mark's a good buddy and a Patreon supporter. Thoughts on Hasbro producing limited runs of new figures? This is a good question. Havoc has just gone on pre-sale and sold out within hours. The figure doesn't drop until April of 2023. Wow. Why doesn't Hasbro meet the demand? Tim?
I think on that particular occasion, for some reason, the UK Hasbro just didn't order enough, and none of the retailers have got their usual allocation. I think Wayne from Star Action Figures put out something that he only got 10% of his usual allocation of a figure. So that one just sold out everywhere. I mean, Wayne hasn't even put his up for sale because he wants to wait until he's got them in stock and then do it in some like fair way so as many people can get them as possible. I think Pulse had them 2 per customer. In Demand Toys had them 1 per customer. And the only thing I can think of recently that's done that is with the Indiana Jones. When all this new Indiana Jones 6-inch stuff came out, it's like limited quantities. I don't know why. But before that, I think the TVC is, you could go into Smith's and still get a Bo-Katan, for example, no problem. A Bib Fortuna, they're everywhere, So I don't know what's happened recently, and Wayne doesn't know either. But I think it's just down to Hasbro UK not ordering enough in the first place.
Yeah, it could be supply chain issues. I mean, a lot of that Far East stuff is, they're subject to random lockdowns and closures and things like that. And, who knows what's going on with the actual supplies that go into the making of these. So it's very possible that all of that stuff could just be supply chain issue type stuff. I want to say also hi to Chet Osterman. He was kind enough to send me a beautiful foil General Grievous. That is at Collector Archive Services. Hopefully they don't damage that one as well.
Top man,
the way they're
Chet.
going.
Yeah. What's up, Chet?
Phil the Force, I can't find his comment now, but Phil the Force did say that he heard from someone, I think at Hasbro, Emily or somebody like that, that the Star Killer card back is going to be exactly the same, except minus the Darth Maul offer sticker, which is a shame. I mean, I'd love to see it on a Force Unleashed card, a Gaming Greats type card, but
see, even stuff like me that I don't collect it, but if I was to collect it, I want to see it on a different card back. I want to see something different about it. I don't want to see the same thing, but just like a little serial number on the bottom right corner being different.
I mean, you can see it on the back too, but I mean, I just think in general that they're missing an opportunity there to kind of expand on the Gaming Greats and have that as a killer.
Well, they've been releasing them with the name of the game as the logo now, so it makes sense, wouldn't it? It's the main character from the game, and you're putting them on expanded universe cards. It's just bizarre.
Makes no sense.
Look at what vintage, Kenner did. You have a Chewbacca figure that has never changed since 1977, and then you just release it on an Empire card, a Jedi card, a Power of the Force card, a Troy logo card. You just keep putting it on different card backs, but it's the same figure. It kept it relevant.
Yeah.
You guys want to see a few of these other items before we wrap it up? I'm going to show these on a proper unboxing on my channel, but I've got a Bad Batch Elite Squad Trooper. This one was from Thomas Hogan. He sent me the 4-pack, and they opened them up for uncirculated grading. This one got an uncirculated 90. That's pretty killer. I'm going to show them properly, but I'll just show a few others. I got Bo-Katan, 95.
Wow.
95 grade. Bo-Katan. I got 12 95s in this batch, believe it or not.
I think Matt just said you've got 100 watchers, John.
100 watchers and only 9 likes. Hulk smash that like button, guys.
Yeah, come on, let's start liking this.
I got a Clone Captain Gray, uncirculated 85. That was the lowest one of all of them, though. I think I did get a 95 from that bad. It's funny, in the same Bad Batch 4-pack, because Tim, you cover this on your channel, but how they packed them inside that 4-pack box. Some of them can get kind of messed up. Some of them can't. So within the same box, I got an 85, a 90, and a 95, all within the same same 4-pack.
I think I got 2 90s and 2 95s, I think in that 4-pack it is the Rex that was always the one that. What did you get for Rex?
What did I get for Rex? I think I got a 90 on him.
Right.
This is one that you sent me, Tim, so I wanted to show this off. This is the Droids R2D2. You were kind enough to send me one of these from the UK when we were having supply issues. That one got an 85 plus.
I guess Tim didn't have my address to send me one. Thanks, Tim.
Well, I think I paid for them. I can't remember. I don't want to give all these away, but I wanted to show the other one that you sent me. This one is the money ball. This one.
Hang on,
right
hang
here,
on a
Tim.
minute, Chris. I sent you a FET, man.
You did.
Yeah.
You
it's
sent me
actually
this.
sitting right there. I will
Yeah.
never ever get rid of it. I will never get rid of it.
Now, this bad boy scored. This is from Tim. It got a 95 for a Target exclusive. Droids FET.
Sweet.
95.
I want to
That
do
is-
the loose graded version like Tim did.
Yeah.
Let's see, I got-
Shall I get that?
I do got to. I got to show one more. I got to show one more for. I won't give them all away, but I got to show this since Tim is on, and since you're on, Chris, because you were the one that sold it to me. But we've got another 41 back, and I think we might know who this is. Dun,
Oh,
dun, dun.
man.
41 back A survival
Oh,
kit
look at that
Bosk.
sticker, man.
This was kindly
Oh,
sold to me from Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook. That one scored an 80, 85, 85, or excuse me, 80, 85, 80 for an overall
okay.
80. Clear
Yeah.
blister.
yeah. When are you going to look after me, Chris?
The next 41A that comes in.
Here's
So
here's
thank
the
you
loot-
to both
here's
you
the
guys
loot.
for these awesome ones. Oh yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Show that off.
I like that. I really do. I think it looks cool.
It turned out awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost looks vintage when you first look at it. You know.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to wait like 10 months to get that, I would be doing it too.
Let's see if we got any other final questions. Final chance for questions before we wrap this up, guys. Any parting thoughts, Tim or Chris, that you'd like to share?
Should we get the three as it's a toxic limbs stream? Should we get the 3 toxic limbs on camera?
Yeah, I think we got to do that one more time. Let's hold them up to the camera. This will be the only time probably you'll ever see three Spanish light green toxic limbs Bosks. There's probably about, I'd say, 20 to 25 of these in existence in the world, and we've got 3 of them on this live stream. So it's just one of those kind of special moments, and I'm glad we were able to do this. So, Chris, thank you for being patient and waiting to unbox yours.
You know, it actually took a lot to have this box sit here for a week without me touching it, not even knowing the grade at least, when I've already been waiting since April. So
I got a couple other questions. Has anybody graded the sail barge without the loose graded it? No. They have graded it inside the box. AFA.
Yeah.
I saw one on AFA's website.
well,
And then Matthew Henning asked a good question. If you guys remember, I've got a video on my channel talking about Jeff Jacob, and he had $50,000 of mint on card made in Mexico Lily Lettys that were quote unquote lost by FedEx in shipping, and he had insurance on them, and he asked for for the insurance to pay out. FedEx denied him. They did not pay it out. So number one, I'm really happy to see that FedEx missed their earnings and their stock dropped by 25% because they deserve every bit of that. And I hope the CEO gets fired. So I've stopped using FedEx after I heard that horror story. But I do have an update on this. And this dates back for a while now. But, Jeff, he posted on one of the Lily Letty groups on Facebook. He's like, yep, sure enough, one of my items turned up, and it was a Japanese seller who had his mint on card Letty Stormtrooper. It was definitely his because he did a side-by-side showing the defects on the card and circling the defects, and it was his card. So, but he never, to my knowledge, he never got reimbursed by FedEx. He never got any of them back. So I think the lesson I would take away from that would be I would have flown those down myself. I don't know about you guys.
the lesson I got from that is paying for insurance through FedEx means absolutely nothing because they're not going to refund you.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
man.
I mean, and several collectors have mentioned that. It's like, why are you paying for insurance? The chances of you getting a significant payout like that are almost zero. If it's like $100 item, then yeah, they're going to pay you out. But, man, that was just a horror story. I do not envy his position on that.
I'm sure you'll start seeing more of them pop up. So that was the first one, and you'll just see more.
Yeah, people will just wait, won't they? They won't want to.
Yeah.
Even if they're not the people that are responsible, like just someone that's bought it or whatever, they're not because they would have heard the story. They'll be like, shit, man, I've got one of these, and they're not going to want to sort of poke
show
their
it
head
off
up with it.
All right, so we got one other question. And both of you guys, I'd like to hear both your answers. we'll start with Tim. What's the next vintage figure variant that's going to take off? I vote the olive hair General Madine. I actually bid on one probably about a month ago, and I lost by like $5. It was an AFA 85. But do you have?
I don't know.
What's
Man.
the next variant that no one's talking about?
A short V.
That's what I was going to say.
Bonk droid.
I was going to say the exact same thing. So there was at one point when the whole short V movement came out, this whole craze. These things were going for over $100, $150, and I kept on saying this is absurd. They're $20 on eBay. If you just look at the pictures close enough, you'll find them. Right now, they've shot back down to like $25, which is the price of a regular one.
I mean, I did see one sell though recently on Facebook that was loose and ungraded. That it sold for close to 100. And
on what group? Who's still paying that?
I don't remember. I can't remember which group it was, but I did see it was very recently, a couple days ago.
Because I see tons of them.
There was a UKG 80 grade one that was for like $130, I think, 130 US, and it sat forever. I mean, it was on the market forever.
Exactly. So it makes no sense. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm sure at some point someone will come out with another variant somewhere that we've never heard of or seen before. But to know what the next one is, I don't know.
It's interesting because like if you look at how countries have done, right? Like 5 years ago, Lily Letties were just like on fire, literally.
Yeah.
Visual fire. Like they were selling as in bootlegs too, Mexican bootlegs. Now Mexican bootlegs are down, Letties are down, Spanish figures are up. I'm just trying to think of as any. I was thinking like maybe if the graders got a little bit more detailed with French Mecanos, maybe that kind of has like a little niche that hasn't really been explored in detail yet. I don't know.
Well, the whole moral of it is that, we've all been collecting for a while, and collecting has always been a roller coaster. You always see it go up, and you always see it go down. And one year, loose graded is hot, and the next year, mocks are hot, and no one wants loose graded. It just constantly goes back, like up and down, up and down. So, I don't think anyone should start panic selling and get rid of stuff. It's just that this happens all the time. Letties will be back up soon enough because I'm buying them right now myself.
I hope so because I've got a prune face.
Yeah, I will say that I got, I want to do a plug really quickly for Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook. I just got all these back in, and I am going to have a few vintage collection for sale. I think I've already pre-sold pretty much everything that I'm willing to sell. But I do have 2 collector archive services, 90+ Bo-Katans that I'll have for sale next week. But my other Mithril, so this is the one I'm keeping. It's a 95 grade.
I was going to say, you want to keep the Mithril, man. He was 1 per pack. So here's 1 per case.
It's a cool looking figure.
I actually want John to actually list these items because John always says he's going to list the items and then he sells it before he lists the items.
They pre-sell. I mean, I pre-sold like $600 worth of graded TVC in like 20 minutes, just reaching out to good friends. But anywho, this is a good one. This is in terms of variants. This one, I mean, it does get a little bit of love, but Black Dahlia, he mentions the black neck Lando. That's another one I've bid on a few times over the years and just have never gotten it. That's a variant that I think is underappreciated because it's not that easy to find that one. It's literally like there's no brown paint. It's all black.
It's all black. I actually knew nothing about that until about, I would say, a couple of years ago. Actually, when it was you bidding on one, and I had no idea what this thing even was. And then you showed me pictures, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, I lost out on that one. GA also is AFA 100 purely theoretical. No, I actually have seen a mint on card. I think it was a Power of the Jedi Jango Fett that was graded uncirculated 100 by AFA. But it's very, very tough to do. I almost got a 95 plus in this last batch. I missed it by 0.02, I think, or about 0.2, excuse me. It was a 95, or no, it was a 97.3. So I missed a 95. I've never gotten a 95 plus on a carded figure. I got it on one proof card one time, but I think 100 is just so hard to do. I don't know.
I've actually seen a Salacious Crumb before, a vintage one that was out of the baggie. I've seen one of them.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That's Salacious.
A Salacious Crumb got graded 100.
Yeah. So. Okay, guys. Well, we've been going on for way above. I appreciate you guys taking the time today with me, and for all of those watching, 94 of you. I can't imagine why, Tim, we would have 94 people on. I think he brings in Tim's aura, it's like it just sucks people in to the channel. So I appreciate.
Since Tim is bringing in all these people, the $10 that John got, I think Tim gets $5 of that personally.
Yeah, Chris Curran, thank you so much again for the super chat. That was really kind of you. And whoever's watching this on replay, parting thoughts. You got 10 seconds or less. Go, Tim.
To do what? Sorry.
Parting thoughts. Parting shot.
I'm gonna. Adam Berry says, in terms of modern TVC, what is the rarest? Would you say? That's difficult. It could be some Canadian error or something. Canadian Yoda's up there, isn't it? It's got to be like high grade Canadian Yoda. People think the mini cards are rare, but they're not. You know, there's loads of them around. So I don't think anything of the TVC is actually rare, but Canadian Yoda, I'd say, but it's probably not. There's probably some weird Canadian variant, something that only one Kenobi's got. That's the rarest thing going, you know.
The Canadian Yoda unpunched just sold ungraded for like 16 something last week. It was 1,625, I believe. Crazy.
Yeah, I'd probably say that the unpunched Cody or the unpunched Magna Guard or something's probably rarer than a Canadian Yoda, to be honest.
Wow.
Well, Tim, thank you for joining. Chris, final thought before we wrap up?
Final thought is stay tuned to Rogue 5 Toys for upcoming sales. If prices do start to come down, you will see lower prices. And also follow us on 5 Idiots Talking Toys podcast to keep up to date with all new releases and just stuff that we like to complain about.
Well, thank you guys again for everyone joining. We'll be back soon.
Cheers, folks.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.